Iran threatening to shoot down 2 U.S. Navy reconnaissance planes. It happened Saturday when a Navy EP-3 and a P-8 near the Strait of Hormuz received 3 radio calls from Iranian air defense units. In one of the calls, an Iranian military person said, "Coalition aircraft, I understand you are doing your mission in international waters, but you are approaching Iranian boundaries. If you do not change your heading, you will be aimed by Iranian missiles. Change your heading immediately." The U.S. pilots knew they were outside the range of Iranian surface-to-air missiles, so they proceeded without incident, according to U.S. military officials. But the Chief of Naval Operations is making clear his commanders have the authority to act against Iran if needed.
There's really nothing that limits the way that they can respond.
The U.S. says provocations by Iran in the air and at sea are growing. 32 incidents so far this year compared to 23 all of last year. Most are conducted by Iran's more militant Revolutionary Guard Corps naval forces.
I think some of this is kids with bravado. Some of this is just Iranians showing how tough they are against this really overwhelmingly massive U.S. naval capability.
Israel has claimed it downed an Israeli warplane and a drone, but Israel was quick to deny this. The Israeli military said 2 missiles were indeed fired at them after an airstrike on a Syrian army position, but that they missed their targets. Syrian state media said the Israeli fighter jet had attacked an army position overnight in the south near Quneitra, just as a nationwide ceasefire came into effect. Israel confirmed it attacked the area just hours after a stray mortar bomb from the infighting in Syria struck the Golan Heights, a disputed plateau under Israeli occupation. The bomb claimed no victims, but Israel typically hits back when fire spills over into its territory.
At this point, there is still a lot of confusion on what happened exactly. What more can you tell us?
I can tell you that there are 2 accounts. Israel says its planes returned safely home. Syria says that it knocked both of them out of the sky. At the moment, if we don't see, I think the onus is back on Bashar al-Assad since Israel denies this. The onus is back on the Syrian president to produce pictures or a pilot or a ruined plane of some kind. And in the absence of that, we have to doubt whether in fact the 2 planes were knocked out of the sky.
2 American B-1B bombers have flown over South Korea as a warning to the neighboring Democratic People's Republic of Korea. The nuclear-capable supersonic aircraft were sent in a show of force after Pyongyang's recent nuclear test. They came within 120 kilometers of the border. The move was also aimed at easing public anxiety in South Korea. Earlier, our correspondent Shane Hom in Seoul told us the flyover was a symbolic move to warn the DPRK leadership after its latest nuclear test.
Now, new assessments by weapons experts suggest North Korea will have enough material to make 20 nuclear bombs by the end of 2016. The assessment said with ramped-up uranium enrichment facilities and existing stockpile of plutonium, the North is now able to produce around 6 nuclear bombs a year. The new assessments come days after Pyongyang conducted its 5th and most powerful nuclear test. North Korea said its latest test proved it was capable of mounting a nuclear warhead on a medium-range ballistic missile. The country's latest nuclear test drew harsh condemnations from the US, Japan and South Korea. North Korea, however, says its nuclear weapons program is aimed at countering US hostility.
Chinese bombers, fighters, and aerial refueling aircraft flew through the Bashi Channel on Monday for exercises in the Western Pacific. The channel separates China's Taiwan and the Philippines. The Chinese Air Force says these were normal, annual, planned exercises to raise the Air Force's ability to defend national sovereignty and security and ensure peaceful development. The exercises included early warning and in-flight refueling to help improve combat ability far from home.
The self-proclaimed leader of a separatist-held area of Donetsk in eastern Ukraine has announced a unilateral ceasefire in the region, beginning on Wednesday at midnight. An earlier truce agreed between the government and rebel factions began at the start of the school year on September the 1st. Reports suggest this was largely respected until Monday. The ceasefire will start at midnight between September the 14th and 15th. Stop fire and any military action, the rebel leader said on Russian television. I call on the Ukrainian side to take it seriously and show they are ready to do it in practice and not just make declarations. Kiev has not yet responded to the announcement, but did say 3 soldiers had been killed and 15 injured in combat against separatist fighters between Monday and Tuesday. Germany and France, whose foreign ministers will be in Kiev on Wednesday, have reportedly put forward proposals for a lasting peace in eastern Ukraine.
Well, the ceasefire in Syria tonight appears to be holding. More than 300,000 people have died in 5.5 years of civil war.
Only a trickle of aid from Turkey made its way into northern Syria today, where civilians who've been through hell are waiting, desperate for food and medicine. For months, they've been sitting ducks for airstrikes by Syrian and Russian planes, or living under fire from opposition rockets. But what a difference a day makes. The ceasefire held, even in rebel-controlled eastern Aleppo, and these kids made the most of it. In the lull, ambulance drivers had time for tea. There were even empty hospital beds. We had to change blood-stained sheets 1,000 times a day, said this Aleppo paramedic. Today, we've only seen patients with flu. If the ceasefire continues to hold for the next 7 days, the U.S. and Russia will start coordinating airstrikes against jihadist groups, including ISIS. And crucially, the Syrian Air Force will be barred from flying in rebel-held areas. But one man's rebel is another's freedom fighter. And Russia and the U.S. have not seen eye to eye on which opposition groups are legitimate targets. There is plenty of scope yet for this deal to come unstuck.
German police have arrested 3 Syrian nationals accused of being sent to Germany by the militant group Islamic State. Prosecutors allege the 3 men, who are between the ages of 17 and 26, were dispatched to Germany in November 2015, either to carry out a mission or to wait for further instructions. Interior Minister Thomas de Maizière said they entered Germany after traveling through the Balkans. Around 1 million asylum seekers arrived in Germany last year. Concerns about their presence rose after 3 violent attacks were carried out by asylum seekers. But de Maizière said it would be wrong to suspect all refugees.
Now, a top U.S. official says more than 110 people have been publicly charged in federal court on counts related to the Daesh terrorist group since late 2013. U.S. Assistant Attorney General John Carlin said witnesses in almost half of the cases on Daesh did not report anything to law enforcement authorities until after the charges were made. He noted the U.S. Justice Department wants the American public to be more proactive about alerting federal authorities about someone showing support for foreign terrorist organizations. Last year, the Department of Justice charged 60 people for their nexus, sympathies or support for Daesh, the largest annual figure on record.
These villages reveal a China the government won't want you to see. Even riot-clad police seem to be afraid of the Wukan people. They are angry that their democratically elected leader was arrested for accepting bribes in June. Then people took to the streets, voicing their disbelief at the charges leveled against the official. The villagers grabbed headlines in 2011 for standing up against government land seizures and corruption. A year later, Wukan's 6,000 residents were allowed to vote in democratic elections to relieve community tensions. That's practically unheard of in communist-run China, and the village became known as a benchmark of grassroots democracy. That's something they now see as being under threat, and their unhappiness is clear.
Allahu Akbar. New York City is known for its confluence of cultures, and it's hoping to send a unifying and inclusive message to its Muslim community. For the first time, both Eid al-Adha and Eid al-Fitr are public school holidays. Nearly 1 million Muslims called New York City home. Mayor Bill de Blasio wanted the public school holiday to embrace the city's culture and diversity and ensure people of all faiths feel included.
New York City is a better place because of our Muslim community. And we will stand up to hatred, we will stand up to division, we will stand up to anyone who spews bias, and even more so, anyone who acts on that bias in a criminal way.
The city has stepped up security at mosques for Friday prayers and through some of its neighborhoods after the murders of a Muslim school teacher and an imam. It's also working to combat Islamophobia, hoping that Eid won't just mean a day off for Muslims to celebrate with family, but an opportunity for all of New York's residents to have a conversation about faith.
The declaration of war against the United States of America.
With a gun strapped across his body and carrying signs against Islam, Jim Stobiak vehemently opposes plans to build a mosque in Newton County.
Your ultimate goal is to impose Sharia law.
With flags held high, Philip Morris stands side by side with his son in defiance of the mosque.
The Quran is nothing but hate speech.
Across the street, a small group supporting the mosque stands silently, holding signs touting freedom of religion.
I'm a Christian, and I fully believe that by protecting other people's religious rights, that it will keep us safer.
Newton County commissioners abruptly canceled a meeting to discuss plans for the mosque and cemetery to be built on 135 acres off Highway 162. They cited crowd control and safety concerns after a video circulated on social media about a large protest from a militia group.
Is it scary to have people exercising their First Amendment right? No.
Chris Hill, the commander of the group called Georgia Security Force 3%, was behind that video. He says he just wanted to voice his concerns.
Terrorism going through mosques in different parts of the country, those are the types of things that could potentially be coming here to Newton County.
County officials say they will allow the moratorium of the mosque to expire next week, allowing the plans to move forward. Some Newton County residents say county leaders had no other choice.
Allowing the moratorium to expire would be the only thing that they can do, unless they want to invite a lawsuit that's going to cost millions of dollars to this community.
Others say they simply caved to pressure and fear.
You're going to have to quit being nice to people that want to kill you.
Many of the protesters out here tonight say they realize there is a slim chance of stopping the mosque from being built, but they say at least they had their say.
Well, there's even more fallout in North Carolina from that state's so-called bathroom bill. This time the state is losing its chance to host one of the signature events on the sports calendar.
Correct, that's right. No March Madness in North Carolina. The NCAA says it won't play postseason basketball there to protest the state's very controversial law.
The NCAA is pulling 7 championship events and 6 sports out of North Carolina. A move it says is a direct result of House Bill 2, a law its opponents say discriminates against the LGBT community.
Fairness and inclusion are right at the heart of what the NCAA does and what universities do. And so for our university presidents, this was the proverbial no-brainer.
The state law requires transgender people to use public bathrooms which match the sex on their birth certificate. It also excludes gender identity and sexual orientation from anti-discrimination protection. North Carolina's lieutenant governor, a Republican, equates the NCAA's decision to extortion.
Our women and girls in the state of North Carolina are not for sale. They're not for sale to Hollywood, to any concert venue, to the NBA or to the NCAA.
In July, the NBA moved the 2017 All-Star Game from Charlotte to New Orleans because of the law. State Democrats fear more fallout.
Having the worst anti-LGBT law in the nation on the books is deadly for the North Carolina economy, for tourism, and for our continued ability to host critical events like NCAA tournament games.
As thousands gathered in Washington Square Park for several hours of speeches, songs, and drum beating, Black Lives Matter protesters supported the Dakota Access Pipeline protesters. There has been a growing bond and solidarity between the two groups in the recent weeks. On August 27th, Black Lives Matter activists from Minneapolis and Toronto traveled to the Standing Rock Indian Reservation, which straddles North and South Dakota, to support indigenous tribes protesting. These actions by both parties have made a large statement nationally.
So NIH has developed a vaccine against Zika, and there are 3 centers in the U.S. collaborating to test that vaccine. So the NIH is one of them, the University of Maryland here in Baltimore is the second, and Emory University is the third. We're not actually injecting the virus, there's no live virus, there's nothing live here. But what happens is that DNA is injected into the muscle, and then it tells your own cells to make certain proteins of the Zika virus, which then your body can mount an immune response to. This is a really important milestone to be actually testing a vaccine in humans.
A man has been confirmed as the first person with the Zika virus in central China's Henan province on Monday. After flying from South Korea to Zhengzhou, capital city of Henan province, the 28-year-old man was suspected of carrying the Zika infection following a health screening at the airport. The man had been working in Guatemala in Central America for 2 months and had developed symptoms there. He was hospitalized and placed in quarantine. He is now in stable condition.
Almost 300. That's how many aftershocks have rattled Korea's southeastern city of Gyeongju since a 5.8 magnitude earthquake hit the region on Monday evening. Now, that is more than 3 times higher than the 93 recorded after 2 4.9 magnitude quakes struck off Korea's west coast in April and May 2013. Looking to put residents' minds at rest, at ease, the Korea Meteorological Agency says the aftershocks have now dropped below magnitude 3.0 and are weakening. However, the agency says slight tremors may continue for 2 to 3 more days.
Taiwan is bracing itself for a massive super typhoon Moranti, which is due to slam into the island Wednesday morning. Moranti's grown from a Category 1 storm to the top scale of 5 in just 24 hours. As the storm neared the southern tip of Taiwan, preparations were underway. Gusts of up to 360 kilometres per hour are expected, which brings with them lashing rain and flooding. Power and communication lines are vulnerable and landslides probable. Moranti is the strongest typhoon in the Western Pacific since Super Typhoon Haiyan in 2013, which killed more than 6,000 people in the Philippines.
An excavating team in Argentina have unearthed a rock weighing over 30 tons. It's thought could be one of the world's largest meteorites. It was unearthed from an area 1,000 kilometers north of Buenos Aires that's littered with craters and is believed to have experienced a powerful shower of rocks from space more than 4,000 years ago. Scientists are to carry out more tests to determine the rock's origins. The same area of Argentina is home to another giant meteorite known as El Chaco, weighing 37 tons. It was discovered in 1969. Astronomers say they were surprised by the latest discovery's size and weight. The readings need to be confirmed. Scientists say an estimated 100 tons of space debris have been excavated from the site so far.
Asteroid no bigger than a school bus whizzed past Earth at 18,000 miles per hour on September 7th, harmlessly continuing its cosmic journey after paying our planet an exceptionally close visit. The rock, dubbed 2016 RB1, made its closest approach just 25,000 miles from the Earth's surface. That's just a tad farther out than GPS and communication satellites. In space rock terms, that's an extremely close call.